Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? How's it going, Yellens? How's it going, Dylan? Hello, Zuzu. And how's it going, sir? I hope everyone's doing great on today. On this fine Tuesday that we have right here. And of course, that's the first sound gacha of the day. Later during the stream. How's it going, Noir? Pretty good at work. Okay, so for those who might not be able to stay until like later during the stream, I'll
I
make
think you're just a horny little boy.
the announcement once here, and then I'll make another announcement, the same announcement a little bit later. The main announcement of tonight is that I'll be unable to stream for at least 10 days because I have a very, very big work to do, finance related. So I have to do some papers for, I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, but basically I have to do some very hefty calculations for value at risk, which is loss potential for companies. And I have like a paper to submit related to that. And it's going to be a lot of work, and I'm really not going to be able to stream for at least 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, just to get that done, get that out of the way, and then I'll have more time. Also, I still need to finish my paper on short selling and options, so there is also that I need to progress. But yeah, because I've been sick repeatedly lately, as you guys have seen with the changes in temperatures and everything, I am very far behind a lot of the work that I should have accomplished. So I'll be taking this, basically roughly 2 weeks off of streaming to just catch up on the work, do my own personal real life obligations and work, and then we'll be back as normal. But that's like the announcement that I'll probably have to repeat multiple times during the stream, because, people come and go, people arrive now, then they leave later, and then there's people later that arrive and then go, and you guys know the deal. Like you've seen it pretty often, right? But yeah, I'm basically forced into a 10 to 2 week hiatus from content creation, and basically, yeah, just work. It's not even like a holiday from content creation or anything. It's not even a holiday. It's just work. So yeah, how's it going, fried pancakes? I'd rather avoid political talk if possible in my streams. It never ends well when people talk politics. But yeah, I've been so busy that I haven't even done my dailies, by the way. In case you guys haven't noticed, I actually haven't even done my dailies of today, so I'm gonna need to do these before reset. Fortunately, a lot of these go pretty quickly, and fortunately for you guys, it means that I can put like a Roka Gamba right off the rip. As a result, I'm also not gonna be streaming for a super long time tonight. I'm not gonna do my usual 4 hours. I might do like 3, maybe less. It depends, but yeah, I have a lot of work to do, and I do have to start very early tomorrow. I'll put you guys a 10-minute Roka Gamba. Oh, Doki Doki popularity poll. I see. Yeah, no, I've been like super out of the loop on a lot of things. Cindy's gotta win the poll. I hope Cindy wins. As much as it would make more sense for other Nikes to win, I just want Cinderella to win. So I'm gonna be voting on Cindy most likely. Even though the most logical answer would be to, just vote for whichever doesn't have a gacha costume yet. But yeah, how's it going, Ruby Legacy? I can do your GFL2 dailies if during your hiatus. I might actually take you up on that. I'm not even joking. I might actually take you up on that. I'll have to figure out a way to, but yeah, I might actually take you on that. I might actually need to also offload like my Nikki account to someone I know to help me with dailies, because it's gonna be pretty nasty. So yeah. I mean, I haven't, like, it's so bad that I haven't really kept up with the news of Nikkei. I haven't really done my dailies for today. I usually do them always at reset. So right now you guys are just seeing me do dailies from what should have been yesterday's dailies, basically. Like, basically current reset, like before actual reset. It's pretty bad. And grab this too. And grab this too. There we go. I don't think I even did a lot of co-op, did I? I think I did like one round of co-op with Omni, and that's it. Yeah, I did my round of co-op with my union, and that's about it. Wouldn't mind doing it. Would give more things to do besides chatting on characters' AIs. Fair enough. That's fair enough. So let's talk about politics. Oof, Ali's dementia kicking in already. It's just that real life has been very, very crazy. I'm not gonna go too much into details, but you guys know that my field of studies and/or / day job is basically finance related. And needless to say, it's been an interesting few days, to say the least. Just from a pure, like, my field perspective. Finance and economics. So, yeah. You don't say. Yeah, thanks, America. Holy shit. And China and everything. Holy fuck. It's gonna be a wild ride the next few weeks. Your stocks went down 20%? Damn. I'm not surprised though. Like, SP 500, Dow Jones, all of those went down for like 10% or something in one go. Fun fact, the paper that I'm doing of value at risk, without going too much into details, value at risk is something that we do in finance, using mathematics and probabilities to evaluate how much of a loss potential it is for a company. You guys can see where this is going. So yeah, I'm gonna be very, very busy the next few days. Around 8 to 11% plunge. Oh yeah, it's guess we aren't retiring. How's it going, Jedi? Oh no, it's not tulip trade of the 1800s, that's the thing. Tulip trade was what we would call a speculative bubble. So speculative bubble, or like generally speaking a bubble, you could think of it as, for example, the .com was a bubble. Because people were speculating on things like websites at the time, which was the newest, hottest thing. And overvalued so many things that when the bubble popped, it was an absolute bloodbath. Another one would be crypto. Crypto is actually a bubble, funnily enough. Because honestly, once that bubble, if it hasn't already pops, it's going to be a bloodbath and there won't be a lot of cryptos remaining. If any, actually. And there's like a lot of other examples of bubbles, which is really funny. I wrote some stuff relating to bubbles, actually, which is really interesting you bring that, because part of the things that I have written were about bubbles. Yoink and yoink, that should be the weekly for the tickets. Putting money on the new Timmy coin. Nvidia is a mix. It's a mix. It's not everything that is overvalued is a bubble. Almost everything, like almost every bubble is related to something that was overvalued. Not everything that is overvalued is a bubble. That's the best way I could put it. Put or no deal, no exceptions. My god. Oh my god. Putting your money in CDs for the next 4 years. Now, what's interesting is that depending on how you view how the overall economy is going, if you think that America is going to lose its... Wow, that's really unlucky. Is going to lose its dollar reserve value as in the dollar being used as a reserve currency worldwide. If you think that's not gonna continue being the case anymore in the near future, then yeah, they're fucked. They're actually fucked. If they do retain it, then it's going to be a temporary plunge until everything goes back to normal. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, though, in the process, regardless of if it goes one way or another. If you're a believer that they're not going to lose the reserve currency and that they're still going to keep some form of key, or that some of the policies that they have at the moment are not going to last forever, S&P 500, Dow Jones, and so on, indexes are still good investments. In the case this trade war is prolonged for a little bit too long, or you think that the dollar is not going to be anymore the reserve currency, it's gonna take a big plunge and it's gonna take a very long time to recover. I'll just say that much. Boom, boom. Like, the main thing to remember is that part of the reason why the US can finance the way they finance is because the dollar is basically a reserve currency worldwide. The reason why they can have the debt ceiling that they have, the reason why they can print money the way they do, and the reason why some economists naively believe that countries can just print money to repay their debts, most of them being American, is because of that status that gives them a lot of advantages compared to a country that doesn't have a reserve status. Ask Argentina, for example, how that went for them printing money to repay their debts. They'll tell you, or ask Argentina. They'll tell you some fun stories about what happens to a currency when you print money without being like a very trusted reserve currency. That went really well for them. Not. But if the US loses that status, it's going to affect them in many, many ways. And in many permanent ways, even. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Zimbabwe dollar, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that there is an entire field of economics of people that genuinely believe that when a nation is sovereign of its own currency, they can repay their debts by printing money. That's what's called modern money theory. And if it wasn't obvious enough, I'm not a big believer of it. The reason for that is that I'm more of a proponent of no, you cannot do that as you like, and and there's limits even for the ones that can do that, like the US being a reserve currency. Because a lot of it comes down to the trust that people have in said currency. It all comes down to, like, finance, at the end of the day, like monies and everything, and fiat currencies. It all comes down to trust at the end of the day, so that should give you an idea. So the US benefits from a lot of the ability to fund a lot of things thanks to being the reserve currency. To put it in a nutshell. Dozen eggs will spike to $36. It's going to be a mess. It's not a... like, it's complicated, so... please be true, may there be no eggs. What's interesting is that while simultaneously putting tariffs, the US actually asked for some European countries, I think it was Denmark actually, they were asking for Denmark to ship more eggs to the US to fix the shortage of eggs that they had. While at the same time there were the talks about Greenland. So make what you will of what Denmark said, but you can guess where that went for them. About to get to Rentenmark. Also, how's it going, Mr. Tokam? Let me get you a shout out in a second once I'm done with these things. Oh, this is a mess. What a mess. They has Denmark and Finland. Yeah, Denmark and Finland. Oh, what a mess. I forgot to put Iron Nukiz. Right, I forgot to make a all iron team. What a mess. Well, it's kind of an aim trainer if you think about it. The volleyballs flying around are kind of like an aim trainer if you look at it that way. Like yoink, 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 yoink. They're technically immune while they're flying around, but it's just funny to chase them. Kind of like a cat with a laser. I think they ask Ukraine as well. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? The USA, please and thank you. Oh my god. When real life memes start leaking into these chats, you know it's bad. Oh my god. But yeah. That's kind of the situation. So, wait, what other ironikas can I put here? I could put snow, actually. Let's just put snow, fuck it. But yeah. Is an aim trainer too? Oh yeah, let me get you a shout out, homie. How's it going, Mr. Toka? There we go. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Oh, I didn't put them all as Iron Week. But the way to view it, right, is that there's a lot of uncertainty around what certain countries, including the US, are going to do. Both in terms of tariffs and other things. So the risk of investing into stocks has gone up quite a bit. So there's a lot of reevaluation of portfolios, and when you reach certain risk thresholds, well, a lot of places just tend to sell. Because it's better to just get rid of it. Your American viewers ready for a politician who shall remain nameless to slap 25% tariff on Ali's subs. How's it going, King? We were actually talking to some extent about that because as you all know, my field is finance. So I'm kind of having an annoying time because of some of the things that are happening. Mainly with the whole value at risk and overall risk management of things. It's always fun when that happens. Now, one of the scary things that could happen is one of the scariest things that could happen to the US is that they could hit like actual proper stagflation, which is something Americans haven't experienced ever. And actual proper stagflation is incredibly difficult to get out of. Stagflation is when you have both very high unemployment rates combined with very high inflationary rates. Normally, when there is high unemployment rates, inflation tends to be low because consumption is low. Normally, when there is low unemployment rates, inflation tends to go up. Hence why some metrics in economics actually use inflation as a measure of growth, except in cases like this one, which is very tricky to get out of because you can't really stimulate the economy out of a stagflation. Because inflation keeps going, but people don't have jobs to consume. And that is a very, very big problem to get out of. I think the last time they had anything similar to that in the US was like, what, in 1929? Something like that? I think for the US, I think it was 1929 the last time they had like a proper stagflation. I could be wrong though. I would have to double check my history books and some of my old finance course books for that one. Oh, thanks a lot for the follow, much appreciated, Josh Lila Shidzu. Thanks for the follow, appreciate it. And yoink, dead. There we go. Yeah, a long time ago. I mean, another moment where they had like really bad economics was like post I mean, no, not exactly post-World War, but a little bit after World War II, they also had like really bad economics. Yeah, hey, how's it going, Josh? How's it going, guest as well? We had a bit in the 80s, yeah, that's where I was thinking. Not a full-blown depression, but damn nasty recession with high inflation. Yeah, but it wasn't like a full-blown stagflation, I think, in the 80s. What was the one in the 80s under Ronald Reagan? I think it was, right? Or was that before that? Because I know that Reagan basically caused a lot of the economic issues in modern day US, actually. Yeah, from 81 to 89. So yeah, it was the one under Reagan. It was a interesting time for the US, to say the least. Bit May, this year is gonna be tough for us here. Yeah. I mean, there's no way around it. As much as I don't talk about politics, I don't talk about politics, I don't talk about religion on my streams. But I'm someone from the field in finance, so this is like a topic that is kind of inevitable, so I'm just talking about the facts and history here. Reagan was blowing up the budget, a billion of nukes to blow up World War VII. Funnily enough, it's not even the budget blow up that caused the biggest issues from Reagan. The biggest thing that Reagan indirectly caused that you could kind of link back to some extent is actually the 2008 crisis, if you believe it. If you can actually believe it, the 2008 crisis was not like entirely his responsibility. That would be completely unfair towards him and completely crazy to say. But actually, a lot of the regulatory things that could have prevented some of the things that happened in the subprime bubble, and that was a bubble actually, with the housing market and everything, were regulations that were set by the US in the wake of the Great Depression, 1928. They put a lot of regulations to prevent that from ever happening again. And one of the policies of Reagan in the 80s was actually to deregulate the finance sector, which 20 years later culminated in the subprime mortgage bubble pop. Oh yeah, the trickle-down economics. Yeah, trickle-down economics is also a funny one. I never understood why people believed in trickle-down economics. Like, okay, trickle-down economics, like modern money theory as well, those two things, they work in a vacuum where there's not other countries. The problem is, no country can be self-sufficient. The USSR tried, China tried, many other places have tried. It's impossible unless you actually control the entire planet. Like, unless your country is Earth and London is your country or something like that. The reality is that no country is self-sufficient. Period. That is not a thing. So that goes out of the window. And trickle-down economics completely go out of the window once you put into the equation the fact that other countries and other places exist. AKA, the super wealthy get wealthier and then they can move their wealth and store it in other places. For example. So yeah, an absolute pipe dream. And modern money theory about the printing of money to repay your own debts only really works if either A, your money, your currency is the world currency, and even then it has its limitations, or B, you're the only country on Earth. In which case, yeah, if you're sovereign of your own currency and there's no other alternatives, to some extent, and even then there's some limitations, you could theoretically do some of the stuff that modern money theory says, which is really funny to me. Infinitely funny to me. About Mars. Yeah. That's why you should move to Super Earth, yeah. Wasn't that like the plot of an anime that some people moved to Mars and then they became a monarchy and then they come back to Earth and they invade Earth or something? I think it was like an anime about that. History showed people tried it already and it did not work well. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the reality. Yo, how's it going, Leo? Good old Reaganomics did. Reagan economics are some of the things that I learned in university as things not to do in terms of economics. Let's just put it that way. Not all of it, but there were a good chunk of it. That money trickled down ran to the Cayman Islands. That's basically the thing, right? Is that some of these theories, yeah, they work, but not in real life. That's the main thing. Was there? Yep. Pitbull, he takes his nickname Mr. Worldwide on a literal level. Oh my god, yeah. Good old Pitbull. Isn't that the plot of COD Infinite War? Is it? I thought there was an anime that basically was like, oh yeah, the people went to colonize Mars and then they became independent and then they became super technologically advanced and then they came with big metas to invade Earth. You became a daughter, unfortunately, got betrayed too many times, dude. I understand. I understand. Like, completely relatable that the Roca economy as well is just as bad as real life economy. Your villain arc, Piker? I mean, I hope it pays off. At least for you, not for me. But yeah. Go just unite with anime waifus and husbandos. I agree. Honestly, I agree. I'd rather just have fun on my little corner of the planet and, you know, just play games, enjoy my waifus, collect cards, and just be a nerd. And have fun chatting about things. But unfortunately, real world is a thing. Unfortunately. Understandable, have a good villain arc. Well, his villain arc is off to a good start because there's no rocks on this one. Let's see the next one. And no rocks on this one. So unless I get 3 rocks on the last one, Doubter Gang is going to win. No rocks whatsoever. Sheesh. Man, the rock economy is even worse than the egg prices. Jeez. Roca economy is actually worse than the egg prices. Brother, villain arc popping off. Yeah, that's a big oof. Isn't this the second time? Yeah, it is. It has happened way too many times to me. They put a tariff on rocks. Yep. One thing that did make me laugh a lot is with the tariff thing is the fact that the US now has officially put tariffs on an island where only fucking penguins live. And I swear to God, I hope the history books never let the US live that one down. That they were the first country on Earth to put tariffs on fucking penguins. Like, what are you gonna tariff from penguins? Guano or something? Like, brother. Because the penguins are fucking commies, yeah. Going on strike, your shit luck keeps making my stonks go down. Understandable, Mr. Toka. Yeah, I mean, like, the entire formula that they use is a mess, because the way the formula works with the tariffs and everything, the devising factor basically nullifies itself and it just becomes exports divided by imports. And that's not how tariffs work. I don't need to tell you guys that. Spreading democracy to penguins. They trade ripe ones weight plutonium or something. My god, yeah. Like, what's really funny is that penguins got more tariffs than Russia, if you think about it. Like, the tariffs went on almost everything except Russia. So penguins got more tariffs than Russia now. How's it going, Aya? How's the day been treating you, Aya? I mean, the entire formula is stupid because, in terms of economics, for those who are actually curious, trade deficit doesn't mean that money is being siphoned from a country. Far from it. In terms of pure economics, if your country has a trade deficit with another country, it's not a sum-zero game. This is something that people tend to misunderstand about trading and economics, is that when it comes to broader economics, it's not sum-zero. So, take, for example, France and, I don't know, Vietnam, right? I don't know the numbers, but let's say France and Vietnam. If France has a huge trade deficit with Vietnam, it could mean many things. It could mean that Vietnam exports a lot of either food or handcrafted things or manufacturing, whereas Vietnam, maybe being a poorer country, does not import things from France because it's too expensive for them. But on the other side, France can have trade with many other places and generate value from the things that they consume from Vietnam to then use somewhere else. A good example of this would be, for example, let's say the luxury brand Chanel. What they can do is they import things that are manufactured from Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And I know this very well because I know people that work in Chanel and that do that for a living. And then they bring that to France to bring it to artisans that will elevate that to another level. And then that will be sold to, say, Singapore as a luxury product. So the trade imbalance would be with Vietnam, and then Singapore would have a trade imbalance with France. And at the end of the day, everyone profits because all of the company, all of the luxury sector is growing up as that money is consumed. And then Singapore produces something else and everything. There is an entire branch of economics related to that. That is really, really interesting in that front. And it's super fundamental economics. If you take some of the most basic books of economics, historical ones, Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations, Origins of the Wealth of Nations, you can see already stuff like that. Nowadays we have way more advanced knowledge of economics than somebody from the 1800s, but people already had somewhat of an understanding of that already in the 19th century, just as a frame of reference. Is it also true that a lot of the first world countries are more service-based than product-based, so it's hard to have trade surplus in the traditional definition? Exactly. That is exactly true. So one of the big things that quote-unquote define a first world country is the fact that it's a more service-based country. So let's take Singapore again as an example. Singapore is an immensely wealthy Asian country, immensely rich city-state. They don't have that much manufacturing. What they have instead is service. So they do banking, they do finance, they do all of the more advanced things. They have cabinets of architects. They have all of these jobs that require much, much higher education than being, a factory worker. And these are also immensely valuable in the world. So they may not export goods, but they export other types of services, hence the term services, to other countries, such as managing said factories that are in the other country, for example, for starters. So trade imbalances don't mean that much. In fact, in many cases, trade imbalances kind of reflect the wealth of a nation. To some, not completely, but to some extent, in many cases, yeah, it actually reflects the wealth of a nation. Because they consume far more. And if you can afford to consume more, generally speaking, it means that you can afford to consume that amount, right? Well, generally speaking. In oversimplified terms. Let us drop some flames like it's Nam. The economics makes perfect sense when you realize it's a grift to siphon money. I mean, it's not... I wouldn't say it's a grift to siphon money. Here's the thing, right? Services are needed. I believe it or not, as much as people want to believe in the whole rise of bullshit jobs, there is even a book that is called that. The reality is that as boring as certain jobs are, they're still very much quite necessary. A lot of the white-collar jobs, as bullshit as they feel, are actually quite necessary. It's just a feeling that you get. Still remember a lot of economics class you took in high school, and even in college still. They're, like, the thing is, those courses allow you to understand a lot of the things that happened around the world. I personally will be doing that for a living, but that's the thing. You know, it's bad when the nothing happens bros are silent. We don't need to make Air Jordans, we can just buy yours. Oh, that's like an entirely different thing, right? Some aspects of the economy tend to be a little bit blown out of proportion compared to what the reality is. If I buy steel to build a machine with, do you now put a tariff on the steel factory or not buy your machines? That's the other thing that people don't understand about tariffs, right? Tariffs are not a tax on the country exporting. Sure, it's a protectionist measure, but the reality is that it's a tax on the people of the country itself. Because if, for example, France imports Scottish whiskey and there is a tariff on Scottish whiskey, well, the company that is importing is going to be paying that at the customs, which is the import tax, based on the tariffs. And then the easiest solution that the company has is to just increase the price of Scottish whiskey in return to the fact that there's tariffs to keep selling it in France at a profit. It's not always the case that they can do that, so in some cases they'll just lay off people, and in some cases they'll just completely close and not do it anymore. Oh yeah, it always gets pushed to the consumer one way or another. That's the reality of it as well. Now, what is interesting about tariffs is that they do, in some cases, some protectionist measures can help prop up certain industries. So, a good example of it is that a lot of the American farming, like some aspects of the American farming, are actually propped up entirely and artificially by American subsidies. So what the Americans did for many, many years, and still do to this day, is that they subsidize certain areas of the farming industry. Let me just change the music because this is way too loud for this. They subsidize it so that part of the very much taxpayer dollar goes directly to the farmers to prop them up artificially, so that they can sell artificially lower than they actually would if they were not subsidized. If you combine that with tariffs in some goods and the like, it can make it very difficult for certain to enter. Although in the case of the US, it was less about tariffs and it was more about subsidies. But that combination can actually protect certain industries, and it's like what you see in China, and it's what you see in some other countries. The reality, though, is that it's... I wouldn't say... In some cases, it's not a waste of money, but in some cases, it's like very artificial and very expensive. Now, when it came to American farming goods, what this meant is that, not because of tariffs, because there were no tariffs on those farming goods, but what ended up happening is that they were basically selling at what would be a loss because they had the subsidies. And so they had like this artificial increase in sales compared to what they would normally... They wouldn't even exist without subsidies. And that was pretty bad for a lot of farmers that were doing it quote-unquote the legit way in poorer countries that couldn't compete because they were not subsidized by the government. And actually, the US has been called out many, many times on the World Trade Organization because of those practices, funnily enough. The problem with the tariffs is that it's not going to work the same way. It's the opposite of a subsidy. If you want to do protectionists, you would have to do both subsidies and give the time to the industry to grow and then put tariffs. Tariffs from one day to the other are never a good idea because You guys, okay, a quick question, chat. How long do you guys think it takes to make a factory? Just out of pure curiosity. I know this very well because I've been my entire life involved in this process since I was a little kid up until today. So I know exactly the amount of time it takes to just make the factory. Just to make the factory, but okay, just to make the factory, and then I'll give you guys also the figure for how long it takes to get it up and running. But just to build the factory from the ground up. So, is tariff gonna affect German price? Depends on what goods, Hot Milton. So, just to build the factory itself, it takes around, and then get it somewhat running, it takes about 5 years. I know this because the day job of my father, his entire life, was being sent to a country, build a factory, get it somewhat operational and up and running, and then go to the next one. So my entire life, I have been moving from country to country, 5 years at a time. Now, the actual time for the factory to really, really be up and running, completely operational and everything, and just be like fully, like an actual full factory that can be depended on and everything, is closer to 7 years plus. And it depends on the type of production you're making. Here I'm just talking about like oil and gas tubes. Yeah, how's it going, Gal? How's they been treating you? Renovating a small part of a school takes longer than 3 years. Yeah. So it's 5 years minimum, right? Roughly. Something like that. It's like 5 years. Now, we're talking about one factory. If we're talking about an entire industry, you're talking at least a decade. Like, it's not going to happen overnight, especially with more specialized and important industries. Very good part of the reason why Taiwan is the chip maker of the world is because it's such specialized equipment and such specialized technicians making those chips that it's borderline impossible to remove it from Taiwan in a short period of time. Like, the entire semiconductor at the high-end industry in the world is, I think it's like a Dutch company in Taiwan or something, and it's basically all produced in Taiwan. I forgot the name. If your grid is overloaded, it may take up to 20 years until your factory is running. That's also true. It depends where you're building said factory as well. The company is still in the Netherlands? Oh, yeah. Well, Holy Mother of God, I suppose you learn something new every day in the stream. I mean, this is stuff that I personally enjoy because it's part of my fucking day job. But yeah. Windows 7, what the fuck? Fell to a verified scam today, but your PC sold literally could not locate your command prompt. That's funny. ASML is in multiple countries, then all the parts are shipped to the Netherlands and assembled, then gets shipped to Taiwan because TSM is the only one buying the machines. Yeah, pretty much. So the machines that are used by TSMC, which is the semiconductor maker of Taiwan, are machines made specifically by ASML, which is a Dutch company that creates machines capable of creating said semiconductors. It's a bit convoluted, but just think of it as the Dutch company is the company that creates the machines that then serve to make said semiconductors. But the semiconductors are mostly made in Taiwan because it's such specialized machinery that is incredibly expensive, very finicky, very difficult to manipulate, and very difficult to use, that requires lots of training and everything, that what was the TMC something? It's the only one in the world, yeah. The bigger chips are many. Yeah, I'm talking about like the top end, right? If you're talking about like more general ones, yeah, they're absolutely made in many other places. I'm talking about like the really important semiconductors that can be used for military and for some really high-end applications. I'm not talking about like the broader like semiconductor market here, right? Yeah, only
一緒に花見
TSMC
でも
makes
どう
those.
だ
They're the only ones because it's so difficult to train and to use and to make that they effectively have a monopoly because of the barriers to entry. Not only are the machines very pricey, they're also very finicky, they're also very difficult to use, etc., 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 and it takes like specialized personnel and everything. Those type of things could take decades to just get one of those plants somewhere else. Straight up. For the upcoming machine, Intel already bought it, which may take another 2-3 years before it's even shipped. Yeah, exactly. And they're also very difficult to make. So depending on the reason why I was talking about Taiwan and the semiconductor industry and everything on the highest end, CERN is way more knowledgeable about that segment of the industry than I am, but is because the example that I took of 5 years to make a factory and then started running is for some simpler things, right? In my case, it was oil, like tubes for oil drilling. But some other industries are so much harder to get started and moving to other places that it doesn't work. Like the economics will never work that you put tariffs now and then hope that by magic a new industry starts propping up inside of your country. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Don't ever click a verification in guild merger ever, even if it's a trusted person inside of a server. You will literally explode and die. Yeah. Be safe out there because there's a lot of like dangerous links. And Discord in their infinite wisdom made it so that it's very difficult to tell what the links are.
一緒に
This
花
is
見
also
でも
very
どう
bad
だ
at building new industry. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, how's it going, Spyro Pyro? Did I tell you Google fixed your account funds problem? I believe you told me a while ago, but that's really good to hear that it's completely done. To be fair, you were drunk. Fair enough. It's not that it's bad at building new industries, that these type of things take a lot of time, resources, and let me put it this way, right? It takes years and millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of funds to create a factory somewhere. Do you think people are going to bet on the tariffs and all of this stuff to stick around after Trump, which is like, what, 5 years? Or they're just going to wait it out? What do you think is the cheapest option for the companies? Because that's the thing, right? Is a lot of these moves are kind of like in chess, where you're moving your pieces without thinking about what the other person in front of you is going to do in response. And the reality is that the other person is also thinking. So you got to think from the perspective of the other one. So in the case of these companies, are they going to spend God knows how much money in something that will probably never work because of the prices? Or are they just going to wait it out and see? Which is the cheaper option for them and the less risky option as well? That's kind of the reality of it. The Japanese TSMC fab started construction after the US fab and finished construction before the US. Really? That's funny. It's been a moment. No worries, Spyro. I still appreciate that you updated me on it. They'll choose Charmander and then remember it's Gen 1 and not remake and it's shit for the first gym. Oh my god, yeah. But that's kind of the idea, is the way a lot of these things function. The best thing I could teach you, chat, about the best outlook I could teach you guys that I personally learned from finance is the concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the idea that when you choose something, one of the costs of choosing that thing is the fact that you didn't choose the other outcome. So, for example, if I invest in NVIDIA instead of AMD, my opportunity cost would be what I would have gained if I had invested in AMD. But this also applies to a lot of other things in life. The opportunity cost of streaming is the fact that I'm not exercising at the moment. So there is an opportunity cost on my health there versus the entertainment and joy that I have by teaching you guys and just chatting with you guys. The opportunity cost between staying at my current job versus starting to look for a new one could be wage increases, opportunities opened, or vice versa. If I change jobs, well, what opportunities am I sacrificing from my former position to get my new position? And this idea of opportunity cost is something that really is something you got to get used to thinking about a lot. And it might seem really basic for some people, but you would be surprised by how many people I know and have met that don't really reason what opportunity cost is. And it's really important, both in finance, investments, personal life, and everything. That's like the biggest takeaway is what is the opportunity cost. And when you're looking at the companies that are reacting currently to, the tariffs and the economic situation at the moment with the US is, what is the opportunity cost for them of choosing one versus the other? And what do you guys think they're going to pick? Because that's the reality, is they could invest and make factories and everything in the US, but then they could just not save lots of money and just wait out to see if either the US calms their tits down or if the new president just rolls back everything the previous one did. Which one is cheaper? Which one is less risky? That's kind of the reality of it. Opportunity cost is how you regulate your gacha purchases. That's a good way of saying it. Work ethic perpetuated by the regulations. Yeah, pretty much. For Adams, goddammit, we did it again. In my day, we called that weighting the pros and cons. It's a little bit different. You can weight the pros and cons and say one is better than the other. But opportunity cost is the direct cost of when you chose that outcome, basically. And you can continue looking at it after the choice is already made. But it's also like in project management, very much used. Opportunity cost is a very good example, actually, of opportunity cost. Okay, chat, raise your hand if you remember Princess Connect with Crunchyroll. Okay, raise your hand for those who remember Princess Connect and Crunchyroll. This is gonna be a funny one, and you guys are not gonna like what I'm going to say, but that's kind of the reality of it. Hand 1 and hand 2 for Yellen. Okay, so a really funny one about opportunity cost is Crunchyroll with Princess Connect. So Princess Connect was profitable for Crunchyroll. That game EOS as soon as it came out. It EOS quite a bit afterwards, like a year or something after it came out. Now, the game was profitable for Crunchyroll. Why did they EOS it if it was profitable? Well, it comes down to opportunity cost. Some people at Crunchyroll looked at how much revenue they were gaining from Princess Connect, and then they looked at how much money they would gain from doing other projects with the resources that are being sank into Princess Connect. And the result came that the opportunity cost was higher than what they were gaining from Princess Connect. As a result, they EOS'd Princess Connect, even though it was profitable. And it makes perfect sense to do it. Assuming that they did their calculations right. And that's the sad reality of it. And it comes up very often in project management and finance as well. Sometimes, even though it's profitable, if you look at the opportunity cost, sometimes it's just better to let go. That's kind of the idea. But yeah, I think we still have like at least an hour until reset, and I'm not going to be streaming the entire 4 hours today. So because a lot of terrible way to go. I mean, from a pure business perspective, it makes sense. There is like other factors and why it's a terrible decision for Crunchyroll, but if you look at it purely from okay, let's imagine they did all their due diligence, they did all their calculations correctly, they did everything correctly. The safest assumption is that someone looked at it in terms of like that and then figured that they had better projects and bigger projects they could do with that money. And as a result, they canceled that project to go and do those. And I mean, what was it? The Street Fighter gacha game or something is like earning them way more than Princess Connect or something. So maybe that was it. I agree with you that it's horrible, but yeah. But I'll leak more secret documents than the entire history of War Thunder. But yeah, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that most people are here to do the announcement about the fact that I'm going to go on a 10 to 2 week break to finish up some work in real life, because the fact that I've been sick lately, as you guys have seen, has delayed a lot of things that I have been doing in real life and real life calls. So I gotta catch up on that and finish some projects and the like. So I'll be taking this 2 week break to just catch up on everything, finish all of the things in real life that I need to do, and then we'll be back as normal in 2 weeks' time. Just so that you guys know and, are not surprised if suddenly for 2 weeks I don't stream. I hope I'm really sorry for the inconvenience though, but it's not going to be resting. I'm just going to be working on projects in real life and then come back to stream again. Just being busy with real life, Right there, Area 51. My God. I gotta say, the whole War Thunder thing is always funny to me. The fact that some people leak confidential military documents to prove a point in a war simulator will never stop being funny. Also, I just received an email saying that my channel has reached 800,000 views on YouTube. Thanks a lot for the support. I really, really appreciate it. We actually hit today 800,000 views total on my channel. That's amazing. Actually, I just received an email from YouTube. So thanks a lot, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I don't even know how to react to this. It kind of came out of the blue on my mailbox. I was like, why is my phone vibrating? And it's like, yeah, by the way, you just reached 800,000 views. Congratulations. I'm like, what? My mind is just blank right now. Holy shit. Thanks a lot, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Damn. 800,000. That's insane. I would show you guys the email if that didn't dox my full legal name. But that's amazing. I guess I'll take a screenshot later of it and post it on Twitter. That's fucking amazing. Oh, yeah. I'm really speechless right now. Holy shit. Just paint it. Area 51, they can't stop everyone. The cause of the Karens and the aliens. My God. But yeah, I think that covers about all the announcements about it. I mainly wanted to stream today to tell you guys because I feel like I owe you guys to tell you why I won't be streaming for a while. And that will actually be it for tonight's stream. And I need to go have dinner and prepare for more work and then go to work tomorrow morning. So I'll be rating you guys into Nia, who I haven't rated in a while, and it's someone that I really, really like a lot. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. And I'm really sorry for the inconvenience about it. And I'm gonna be sending you guys to Nia, because these are the announcements, these are the things. I'm gonna be busy for 2 weeks and I'll be back in 2 weeks. So I'm kind of sorry for you, Josh, by the way. You just followed me and I'm like, yeah, I'm going on a 10-day to 2 week hiatus. And just like a 1 hour and something stream. But yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for stopping by. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for all the continued support, as always. And I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. I'll still be... You still can contact me through Discord, like in my own Discord or through DMs or whatever. That's completely fine. I might be slow on answering, but that's, because I'm busy in real life. I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good one, guys.